show. Well, there we go. Man, this mic is killing me today. Is it Jedi? Am I getting anything? There we go. It's like Mike Chernobyl over here. So there's a few Asians I offended at home right now, but that's okay. Chinaman. But Japanimans.
Yeah, Chernobyl was like in Russia, wasn't it?
Yeah, I know. That's the I'm intentionally confusing Chernobyl and Hiroshima. Wow, it's fine. Nothing like nuclear apocalypse to throw around some for jokes. So Taffeta, Howard, you're gonna have to get right up on that micro lady. There you go. Can you start? I was actually gonna say, can you start with the laugh? Since that's what you're. So, well, it's nice to have you on the show as a host this time.
I know.
So you're going to try to start getting in here more often?
Yeah. Sundays are looking pretty good for me. I haven't started the new job yet, so I don't know what my schedule will be, but I'm pretty sure it'll be open.
Excellent. Now, what's your shirt?
This is my T-Fury shirt, my $10...
Go ahead and stick those right in the camera so everybody at home has an excuse. Yeah. There you go.
It's
our ratings just went up like 300%.
Exactly, yeah.
It's the Joker and a penguin, and it says, we can't stop here, this is Batcountry. Which I love. I thought it was hilarious.
And Jay, you've got some
comic book guy, always a favorite.
Well, Jenna, can we throw up some of the Watchmen artwork? There should be one of the Simpsons there. We'll start with that. For the people that haven't read the Watchmen, let's confuse them and give them the wrong art for the show right off the bat. Yeah,
they just say Watchmen, so I don't know which one is.
Simpsons. Sorry.
Good
That's
job
weird.
On
I
that
should have labeled. I labeled most of them all the way down. The Simpsons one, I guess I forgot. So go for the one that's not labeled properly, Jedi. The anyway, so we're gonna review Before Watchmen, which is the DC Comics origin story.
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
Nope. There you go.
There we go.
Yeah, it's that same excitement.
It's so weird
because
I know. I got it.
Like when you get.
Well, there's actually a station rule that says don't pound the table, and people still do it.
Is it posted somewhere?
I believe online somewhere.
You should have it on your hand.
Smooth.
You can Google it.
Do not slam on tables.
No slamming.
So Jay and I had the luxury and the privilege and the duty of reading.
He said duty.
Of reading the Before Watchmen series as it's out so far, and there's about I think 7 titles. Yep. But basically, it's the origin story for, and each one has 6 comics or 6 issues. But there's Rorschach,
Night Owl,
Silk Spectre, Ozymandias, Dr. Manhattan, and the Minutemen.
Yep.
And then they're releasing the Corsairs and Comedian. And then they're releasing the Corsair stories its own.
Corsair.
Corsair. I have not read any. Every time I tried reading 3 panels of that, and I was like, this does not tie in as well as the original. Well, let's start there. The Corsair is that part. Corsair. They could literally just Corsair.
I don't. That's like you're trying to say concierge and just.
I don't know what I'm doing. So the concierge,
right?
The concierge, bloody concierge. There we go.
Yeah.
Anyway, they tried to do what they did in the original Watchmen and tie in this pirate story that was kind of a meta story
on
loves pirates.
Right. You don't remember that about Watchmen? They cut it out of the movie entirely.
No, I'm not gonna lie. I've never even read any of the comics, nor have I seen the movie. Boom.
Dang, you're missing out. The original comic you really need to check out.
She came prepared for this review.
Yeah, she did.
I wasn't prepared. I didn't know.
Well, she's a noob. You always need a noob on the show. You take the place of the audience at home.
FNG.
So now when we're talking, we have to explain stuff.
I can ask questions and be like, so what exactly is it about? I don't understand.
See, this is
explain it to me like I'm a 2-year-old person who's never read or seen the movies.
Really? Well, let's give you a quick. Jay, why don't you give her a quick synopsis? I'm going to mispronounce words all day. I promise you now. No, now this is a shtick.
This is
I'm going for
thing, isn't it?
So why don't you tell her the basic plot of Watchmen?
The basic plot of Watchmen is in the 70s there was a group called the Minutemen. They were called the Crime Stoppers or something like that, and it was 5 regular people who just went out and were badasses. And there's a guy called Night Owl, who's kind of a Batman, has his gadgets and whatnot, and then there's Rorschach, who's just batshit crazy and beats the crap out of basically anyone who breaks any law.
He's like the Punisher type character
even
without
ladies.
guns.
Yeah, really anyone. He has whole women's issues because his mom was a prostitute who beat him. And
good character.
But then there was also a Superman character called Dr. Manhattan, and he started off as a normal human, and there was a science accident, and basically he's a god. And he can basically do whatever he wants to.
Nice.
And he talks about like swimming across the surface of the sun because he felt like doing it, crap like that.
Yeah, he has no physical corporeal body. He manifests one, but he doesn't have
living
to have
energy.
It. Right, essentially he's living energy. So he's like the Superman type character.
Yeah. And but then there's this one guy called Ozymandias, and he's his tagline is he's the smartest man in the world, and he's pretty effing smart, no doubt about it. And the Watchmen comic takes place in the 80s at the height of the Cold War. And there's an entire ticking clock about the world going, closer.
Well,
and
and Nixon's on his fourth term. In this alternate reality, Nixon has been nominated 4 times. Elected 4 times, I'm sorry, and he's running for his 5th in this world. Basically, it's the split was that the world is more violent in that world.
By the way, that is a big sticking point I'm having with the Before Watchmen comics. They made a serious error there.
So what did they do?
They have JFK as president, and then LBJ as president, and it just... The timing of it doesn't work correctly to say that Nixon had 4 terms.
Right.
So there's...
I didn't even catch that.
It's in the whatchamacallit, the comedian's book. Because he's like best friends with JFK.
Well, so there's then the comedian, but basically it's the Justice League essentially. And originally, when Alan Moore went to DC and said, "I had this idea for a take on taking superheroes and placing them in the real world and seeing that kind of context." There you go. Look, we're actually getting pictures out.
There you go.
Hey.
Oh yay.
So there on the left, that's Silk Spectre. She's the generic female of the group.
Yeah.
There's no token black guy. So but that's the female on the left. Then there's the comedian who's the rough and tumble, Punisher type.
He's got
character.
the little Captain America star.
Biggest cynic there is.
Yeah, biggest cynic there is. You got Night Owl, who's the Batman parody. But originally he wanted to do the Justice League, and DC was like, "No, you can't really fiddle with those too much. There's kind of this canon we got going on." So he basically made up a second Justice League called the Watchmen.
Yeah,
cool.
And and then Rorschach is the greatest in that universe. Rorschach is the greatest detective, only by sheer aggravation.
Yeah,
pretty much.
He really just doesn't stop.
And it's nice because they kind of blend them. Where Night Owl is Batman on the outside, and he's the inventor tinkerer. The smartest man is Ozymandias on the far right. Yeah, in the past shot on the far right. So the character traits are kind of blurred around because he's a really rich man and he's super smart. So they move some of the traits around. By the way, I love that.
Yeah,
the repetitive cover back on that one. And so basically, they're origin stories for all the characters. And in Watchmen, let's go ahead and finish out the plot. So
all right. So in Watchmen, they're coming closer to nuclear war, and Ozymandias he engineers a way to frame Dr. Manhattan.
Spoiler alert, by the way.
No, spoiler alert. But basically, he makes it look like Dr. Manhattan destroyed a bunch of major
in
cities.
The comic, that's in the movie. In the comic, they engineer a fake alien attack as opposed to Dr. Manhattan attacking New York City.
I'm just assuming more people have seen the movie.
Right, and that,
But yes, Ozymandias, he basically comes up with a way of scaring the world into uniting against a common threat. And that's how he ends the Cold War, pretty much, because he destroys cities all over the world. And it's great because Rorschach and Night Owl, they figure out his plot, and they go to stop him. And, they confront him. He's in his secret base in the Arctic, and he, explains everything to him. And they're like, "We're going to stop you." And it's probably one of my favorite things ever. Ozymandias just goes, "Do you really think I would tell you my entire plan if there's any way you could have stopped it? It happened an hour and a half ago." Yeah,
so New York's already been leveled by the time
they got out just in time, and they had no idea that all these cities got destroyed already, and Ozymandias lays everything out. And it's just great the way he delivers. He's like, "It already happened, you idiots." Yeah. Like there's all you can do now is ruin what I just did and have the world divide again and nuclear weapons flying.
Right, and now if you go back on the story that I've set up right now, because all the news broadcasts started talking about how countries started unifying like within an hour of what was going on. And he's like, basically, if you say anything, all these countries are going to start going to war, assuming somebody did it to somebody else.
Yeah.
And so it leaves the end of the story open-ended of what is justice, and of course, who watches the Watchmen. If these are the people designed to, whose job it is to take care of all of us, who makes sure what they're doing is right.
Right.
And it leaves this philosophical question of authority kind of open, where obviously the hero was the villain. Yeah. But the villain wins, and it's good for all of humanity. But he's definitely the villain because he blew up. And in the comic book, they attack. It's just New York City, but in the movie,
no, in the comic book, he gets. I'm pretty sure he does New York and Moscow.
Is that what it is?
Because those are the two Cold War players.
And in the movie, though, they blow up a bunch of. They do
like
Dr. Manhattan destroy a bunch of cities.
Yeah.
But at any rate, so it's this great philosophical argument of who watches the Watchmen. What is authority? Is authority justified to do whatever it takes to bring peace, or is free will more? Yada yada yada.
But anyway,
so that was.
But now there's Before Watchmen, and they're investigating the histories of all of these characters, and I'm liking the story so far. But my favorite thing is each comic book is done with a different art style.
Yeah.
And so the one that shows the Minutemen, they were the super team from the 40s. It's done in a
basically
very
the golden age. They were the golden age Justice League, as opposed
very
to Silver
old
Age.
school looking animation, and then you get to like Rorschach's book, and it's in the 70s, and it's dirty New York, and he always is in like the worst places. And so the style is very gritty looking and pretty real looking. It's very interesting the way they did it.
Nice.
So one of my my big complaints overall so far is that where Watchmen was written as I think a 12-part that had an intentional. Here's what we're going to talk about: the philosophy of authority.
Yeah,
and we're going to have this. We're going to have this debate, and within the book, and it had some meta references, like with that other comic book that was inserted into it. Where this one isn't that. It's more of a clearly, hey, wasn't that a marketable franchise we had? You know what we should do with that? We should do origin stories for all those guys and
show how they got to their mental states that they were in.
Right, and so Watchmen. It's nice dramatic arcs.
Yeah,
but there's no philosophical underpinning. There's no real reason for it to exist.
There's no higher level to it.
Right, where Watchmen was meant to provoke the argument, and the movie obviously didn't do that. It was more of a spectacle. They did an okay job at it, but
it was an entertaining movie, but it's not like it was cinema gold or anything.
Right, and so the new ones just don't have that basic underpinning. Now, barring that, the stories are good. They're well written, and the art's really good too.
Yes,
and it's really nice to go back and visit some of your favorite characters. Like, I love Rorschach. Like, the 2 chapters into the original Watchmen, I was like, this is like one of the greatest comic book heroes like ever written. He's just a horrible human being. He's so violent. He's psychotic. But at the end, he's the only one that stands up and says, you know what? I don't give a shit how good this is for the world. It's a lie.
Yeah.
And he
like,
basically
you're a murderer.
says,
I'm going to
you're a
kill
murderer.
Everyone.
That's what justice is. Justice isn't lying to people to fool people into acting right. It's telling people the truth, and however they act, they act.
Nice.
And so he turns around to leave at the end, and they destroy him. And everybody else just agrees to let that happen.
Like, not just kill him, like, obliterate him.
Yeah, in fact, Dr. Manhattan
pops him.
Yes, it dissolves him,
And they're like buddies before.
Yeah, well, they were on the same team. Rorschach didn't really have very many buddies. Well, Night Owl, kind of.
Kind of, yeah.
He's not what you'd call a people person.
Oh,
well, he cleaved the guy's head in two with a meat cleaver because he found that he had molested and then burned a girl in a furnace.
Not just one.
Well, not just one, but he finds the remains of one.
Yeah, he's a pedophile / torturer. I don't think very many people are going to be like, oh, and he killed him?
Yeah. Well, I'm sure San Francisco would have a march for him, but they like to march for any type of
anti-30
thing.
Whatever you get. I mean,
just reading this huge article the other day on how San Francisco, like, they just had a march maybe like a year ago because the guy got shot by a policeman while he was shooting at policemen and after robbing somebody and during like a heist, and his own gun went off and shot him. So the police bullets didn't even get him. And then they still staged a protest that shut down the entire city for a day where nobody could go to work because a cop shot somebody.
They should have a protest about having so many protests.
They should, and they probably will, I guarantee it. Perfect. So what else do you think about The Watchmen?
I'm really liking it so far. But the thing is, like, we know where their stories are going to end because we know where Watchmen picks up.
Right.
And so saying they're going to do 6 issues for each one seems almost overkill. Like, they really are just reaching for as much market share as they can get.
That's 36 issues at $4 a piece.
Yeah, so is blatantly for money.
That's almost what it seems like to me.
I'm not
There's
saying
nothing
I'm not
original in
but
these stories.
Really, my favorite part of the entire series is the artwork.
Yeah, I was going to ask, who's doing the artwork? Do they have
it's a bunch of different people. I don't have their names off the top of my head. I'm not that prepared.
Seems like Ethan Van Sciver's on one of them.
Yeah.
Sciver. Ethan Van Sciver. I could see that. He's really good. He does a lot of really good graphic and brutal stuff.
Yeah, let's see.
No, I totally lied. I made that up.
Kubert.
Yeah.
And Kubert.
Let's do that. One of them just passed recently.
So anyway, I guess I would recommend, if you're a fan of the movie or the book, you should read them. You'll have fun. If you like having comic books in your hand and reading them, and it's something you like anyway, you enjoy graphic novels. This is one to definitely pick up if you're a fan, because it does expand on the characters.
But you don't need to read them before reading Watchmen.
No, not at all. Not at all.
As someone who's never even read the books or seen the movies, is it something I need to be like, oh crap?
No, not at all. In fact, I would only read it supplemental for fun. This isn't. It's not like you're talking about the life and times of Scrooge McDuck, where you really want to go through all 8 to see the whole story, and they have a companion that goes with it. This is one that's, it's for marketing. It's to make money. It's another thing to have on DC shelves for the next 6 months. But, if you're a fan of it, I would definitely recommend checking it out, at least picking up the first issue of each. And if you happen to like one of the stories or one of your favorite characters, then go for that. But really, I would stick to just go get the original Watchmen book. Get a really nice quality hardbound edition of that, and sit back and read that 4 times, and you're going to get a lot more out of it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And watch the movie, which I was a fan of as well.
Yep. So, anyways, recommendation?
Yeah, it's thumbs up.
It's thumbs up.
Definitely read it, but don't feel like you have to
Not
at all.
necessary.
You should feel obligated to go read Watchmen, though.
Yes.
That is one of the best things I have ever read.
The one with this cover right here.
Yeah, that's the one you want.
That's
that
what
one
you
is
want.
actually, I would say, if you haven't read that, you owe it to yourself.
If you haven't read that, then ask yourself, why do you want the terrorists to win?
Yeah.
All right.
Why do you love Russia so much?
Anyways,
I
all
like
right,
the
we're going
women.
to,
So that's it. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to be back with Cody Phillips and one more time, Shelby Miller, right? Yeah, I'm starting to remember
Nice.
it. So horrible with names. I can't believe I got that in. So Derek X.
Derek
With
X.
Vinyl
That's the
Thoughts
third.
3, and we're gonna talk about a lot about their new show coming up. So, all right, we'll be back in a few minutes.